Sarah Sherman, Dan Bulla. It's not the best.
James
Sarah Sherman, Dan Bulla.
Share side by side.
Yeah, you could sing that one. Sarah Sherman.
No, that's a hard part.
Dan Boo.
Dan Bulla, Sarah Sherman. Dan Bulla is a writer, producer of SNL. He also writes with Sandler. Produces stuff with him. I think he did Ridiculous Six.
And he plays the piano on all Sandler's specials.
Yeah, he writes music with him, writes jokes. He's funny
and he's a huge writer on Saturday Night Live, and he's bonded in a writer release sense with Sarah Sherman. So we had them both on.
Yeah.
And so this is a really, really good episode that gives you an insight into how they're creating this very cool stuff they're doing on SNL.
Sarah is one of the breakout girls that is very interesting. She's got a mullet haircut, looks like Jane Fonda in Clute. She's very adorable, upbeat.
Dan Bulla looks like Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, he looks like a cop from a 70s movie.
Well, that was from Clute.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, see.
I don't even get my own references.
Yeah, but you had Jane Fonda and you had Clute.
Yeah.
But couldn't close.
You know, I think she looks more like Leather Tuscadero.
I think she has kind of a young, energetic, almost I could say, almost a punk attitude in a fun way. There's something about her.
She's kind of nuts. I mean,
she's a little crazy. I'm like, because she's so confident, but then we'll find out what really is going on inside her brain.
She dresses in clown clothes, which is funny. It's hilarious to me. Everything she wears is hilarious, and she goes on tour right now. But we talked. You know, you get a little inside deets on actually writing every day at SNL. What's it like? How do they break down a sketch? How do they come up with it? How do they pitch it? How do they add to it? If it makes it, if it doesn't.
And they
when
have
you
a
throw
new
a sketch
paradigm.
away.
She's doing some stuff on Update that's never been done before.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, you'll hear all about it. It's pretty revolutionary.
Yeah.
And they think visually in a different way than we did. So what they're doing is very, very different. And also just, she dresses in clown clothes, and Sarah's big influences are kind of like shows that were on Nickelodeon in the 90s and stuff. It's what you wouldn't expect. But anyway, it's going to be an interesting little listen for you.
They were a lot of fun. It's kind of a different dynamic. There's 4 of us talking. So obviously Dana and I were freaking out because we couldn't talk as much.
Well, for me, it was kind of fun because I go, can I interrupt all 3 of them in a 10-second period? Boom, I interrupted you. Jumped on Dan.
Boom,
cut
boom.
off Sarah. And I went, that's a trifecta.
In my head, when they're talking, I'm just like, this doesn't remind me enough of a story about me. And I go, now it does. Here I go. Boom.
I see on the Zoom, I see the single tear coming down your cheek, and I go, everybody quiet.
Everybody quiet because I'm about to tell
Because Dave's about to tell a story.
And I go, you guys are on SNL. You know who else was? And they're like, go ahead. And I go, it was a stormy night.
They asked you, did you ever have to leave in the summertime and bring all your stuff back to California? Remember when they brought that up?
Oh, yeah, they said, because I used to have to. They wouldn't say I was hired back. So in May, this is before Uber Eats and all the stuff you guys have, I would be like this. I'd have to get a mattress and just check out of my 3rd story place. Take the mattress down, throw it on the street.
Open the door.
Everything, throw away. And then about a month later, we'll have you back. And so then I'd have to fly out there, stay in a hotel, get an apartment, get a desk, a pen, a bowl for my cereal. It was real bare bones.
Me in the summers, I would just look for bigger, better apartments. You know,
I know,
I'd
Richie
get a real
Rich
estate
over
agent
here.
Go, let's get a 20,000 square footer.
Yeah, Warren
and I'd see
Buffett.
you on the bus hanging out the window with a kind of a hobo stick with
Please,
little clothes on the back. You had a little.
Can I get some suppence for me, tuppence?
Only became a superstar later in life, meaning at 32.
Are we still doing introing them? Here's Sarah and Dan.
Sarah and Dan, 2 of the nicest people you'll ever want to listen to and meet. Can I ask you a quick question? Like, we're going to get into Sarah Squirm and you and Dan and everything, but when you're growing up, what are you seeing that turns you on initially? Like a cartoon or something that gets you into this path of whatever you call your style of humor? You have 5 seconds.
Like Pee-wee's Playhouse and Ren and Stimpy, and like I really liked The Nanny.
The Nanny of all.
But as far as goth and sort of using grotesque things and all that. Where'd that come from? Squirmish, you know?
Well, like
Yeah.
that stuff is from like Garbage Pail Kids and like Ren and Stimpy, like you know.
Ren and Stimpy. I'm gonna check that out.
Fucking Garbage Pail Kids too is funny.
Oh yeah, they're vomiting and stuff. My kids are your age, and so I saw all those, you know, randomly as I was walking
People don't
through.
bring reference those as their comedy heroes as much as you'd think.
I think it's kind of cool. Garbage Pail Kids. Now I'm remembering. Yeah, it's a lot of vomit and like puppets you could buy or toys that had vomit elements to them and stuff. Professors and goo and yeah.
And and it's funny. It's like they're all like punny and like, you know, like cold cut is like a sliced up like ham hock with like all the slices have like different faces on it. Cold cuts, cold cut. It's funny. It's hilarious.
Well, Dan, for the audience, writes on SNL and works with Adam Sandler a lot. And I think you guys write together a lot. And what is it, Dan, of her, I'd say quirkiness? I don't want to undersell it, but for Sarah to be such an adorable face with this crazy shit coming out of her mouth, that's kind of part of the appeal, probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, Sarah came in the show, like when new people start, it's always takes a minute to sort of get what they're all about and find their voice and stuff. And Sarah came in and like right off the bat was pretty obvious, like what her influences were. And just like, I remember the first table read being like, damn, this person is fearless, you know? It's just wild energy. Just like it was immediately like this person has it, you know, and has something unique and stuff.
Yeah, watching your stuff, you seem there. You don't seem to be ever pushing or trying. I mean, you seem like a veteran. Like the way you present on SNL is not normal for how soon you are into your tenure. So
truly, there was one show, Dan can attest to this, because I get like I get psychotically nervous, and I really had to puke before the show because I was like anxious, and so I took a Zofran to get myself from stop because I didn't want to obviously
whatever
puke
that
on
is.
stage. It's
that's
like
an
it's
anti-nausea thing.
Googling.
It's like they give it to like pregnant women with like morning sickness so they don't puke their brains out. And I like needed it to act really fast. So I chewed up this like pill you're supposed to swallow, and it turned my tongue completely white. And I was like, oh shit, like I have to go do a sketch where I'm like, the whole sketch is just someone saying something crazy. And I go like this, like, but like,
you have your mouth open.
With my mouth open, but my tongue was white from chewing this like drug. And so then I ate a bunch of candy before the sketch to like dye my tongue a different color than white. And so like I have like a bright red tongue during the sketch from like eating a bunch. In my head, the story is like awesome.
No, we like it. We like the craziness of the show because your nerves come out in those crazy ways. I remember being in that 8th floor bathroom that's way in the back past page desk, but going back toward the elevators, then you can go way back and there's a bathroom there. Looking at my notes, going, it's dead quiet here. Now I have to go out there, and in 10 minutes, everyone will see me across the country. It's not like you film a movie and then it comes out a year later. You could walk off and the phone will ring and like, I just saw you. And you don't have cell phones back then, so you have to wait and just wonder if it was any good. Very odd, but I'm glad you get nervous and you don't look you're not as cool as you look out there.
But what isn't it? You get that first laugh. Do you calm down at that point a little bit? Because that was big for me. I'd be so terrified. Then if I got a laugh, it took it down 20%.
No, and then I come off stage and it doesn't matter how well it goes. I go straight to Bulla and I go, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
There definitely have been times Sarah walks off and she goes, was that okay? And people are literally still laughing and clapping. Like it's not over yet. People are still laughing. You did great.
I think we're all crazy.
After Jewish Elvis, I thought I was gonna die. I literally thought I was gonna die. And I was being crazy. And I come backstage and I'm like soaking sweat. And you're like, that was great. And I'm like, and I do that thing where I'm like, well, you're just like saying that because you're like trying to make me feel better because I'm clearly having a panic attack. And I'm like, everyone's lying to me.
Mm-hmm. Textbook crazy person.
Yeah. We've talked about when people change their compliment from great to good. Sorry, David.
Well, I mean, listen,
That
I
was
saw, I don't know if
great.
you
Good. You almost got a great, and then they switch it halfway. I don't like that.
Oh.
That was great. Good. But
I don't
Dan
know if you
wouldn't
saw
do
that one, Dana. Did you see that one? It was what was it? Explain that sketch quickly, Sarah, because I think it was Austin Butler was in the front row too, which probably made you nervous.
I literally, yes. Doing
Yeah.
Elvis in front of like actual Elvis. Because I think that Austin Butler is actually possessed by the spirit
Right.
of Elvis.
It is this generation's Elvis. So the people that didn't have the real Elvis,
I think that's a very, very nice thing to say. I don't know why people think it's really Bill Clinton had a baby with Elvis, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, but so you didn't feel that went well, and you were especially nervous doing Elvis in front of Austin Butler?
I don't know. I think I have like audience dysmorphia or something, like where I literally sometimes I'm so blackout panicked that I can't hear laughs. And so even a lot of times in stand-up, I'll be like on stage saying like, I can't believe I'm bombing right now and you guys aren't laughing at this. This is the funniest shit I could ever, whatever. And everyone's like, you're not bombing.
There's some times when not you, but when anyone is doing their act and people are sort of smiling and watching, and they're just not a loud audience because there's like not one person has laughed loud. So the whole crowd has decided we're not going to go big on this one. We're just going to like it. And then you think you're eating it. And then everyone's like, I thought it was good until you told us we were bad and you were bad. And then they go, oh, I guess you didn't do well, but we liked it. And you go, oh, but that happens a lot. And we did the road, Dana, is it? And we were on the road,
or
and
Mr. Carvey.
It was with San Madu Gagagoo. We went out with Adam, and Bulla works with Adam, and they run this fun tour. And how did Sarah get on that tour, by the way, before I tell my not interesting story?
Sandler likes her. He thinks she's great.
Oh,
can you believe something like that, David Spade?
No, I think it was something else, but no, yeah. I liked her, and I saw her. I think the first thing I saw was your update where you were in Colin's, maybe his dressing room or something, and then you were doing a live report from there, and it was very clever. And I was like, "Who the fuck this chick?" And then I think I asked Bulla or somebody, and then you pretty soon after I saw you, you were going to be on one of the gigs that I was on. And you were super fun right away. We had a blast. I had a blast.
You wrote me a joke.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, you wrote me a joke that I love it.
Oh, should we do it?
Yeah, because I have like 10 minutes. I don't know why, but like during these Sandler shows in front of 15,000 people, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do 10 minutes of like big fat pussy jokes.
Oh, goddamn, that's right.
And then
that's what I would do.
I think like my instincts are bad. Anyway,
well, how does his audience take those jokes? I mean, I
can't tell.
I think they're wrapping their mind around you because they've known Sandler for 30 years. So when newer people come on, obviously they like you from SNL. Obviously you're a funny performer. And the stuff is so out of left field. You have to admit it takes people a second just to adjust.
Well, you have
once they get into your vibe, they love it. Like of course, we're laughing ourselves on the side because you're doing your New York thing and you keep going. And I'm like, is she still going? And I thought, how ballsy for this when it's this big crowd and you don't even know if they're into it or not. She doesn't care. It's just a blank slate of just going, they got the best pizza. Who's got the pizza? Screaming and putting her arm out and her head to the side. But it was such a cool style that once they buy into it, it's that's where you go to the next level.
You're like, it's so brave of you to bomb and eat shit in front of 15,000 people.
You know what was great is that you don't care at all that they weren't doing anything. You didn't care at all. No, I'm up there doing my 7-Eleven jokes, going, like me.
Well, you wrote my favorite joke. You wrote it. It's I've got so much old meat between my legs. I got to keep a silica packet in my underwear to keep it from going bad.
Jesus Christ!
Old meat between my.
Yeah, because Dana, I think we got there because it was already. I didn't get that joke out of the blue.
Yeah, I got it right away. I didn't
No, she does jokes about
That's not how I remember it. I remember David coming up with that whole thing, the whole premise.
Going, Sarah, have you ever talked about what's inside your pants? There might be something there. And here's a starter joke.
Yeah, there's a whole history of referring to one's genitalia in a derogatory way, men and women.
No, Dana, you don't understand. She talks about it in her act in front of people.
No, I'm sure that couldn't be right. Anyway, Sarah, you are on the precipice. How do you spell that? Of being famous, and the audience will then give you even like my stand-up got so bad as I started getting paid so much more because I was doing no stand-up. So I was getting paid 50 times as much, and I was terrible. So welcome to the future. But that's, are you pretty much, if you play clubs in New York, don't they kind of go gaga at this point when you come out? Or have you turned that corner where people, I love her. It's interesting. You might have to have another therapy session.
I can't really tell. Like, I think because now, like, you get introed, like, if coming to the stage, this person's on SNL. Like, people at clubs are like, ooh, like, I came in from Indiana to have a weekend in New York, and now, like, I'm getting like a nice little treat. And so you get like a little bit of a safety net with that, a little bit, but you also, I guess, get like a higher expectation because people are like, well, you better do a good job.
Yeah,
that's true.
Or they think it's Chris Rock. You know her from SNL.
I know. You get these intros that are too big. I hate it, right? The intros where here she comes, fashion your comedy seatbelts.
I make them read my whole Wikipedia page or whatever it's called. He was nominated for 2 Cable Ace Awards. So I was just like, just get this fucking guy up
from 1986. Please welcome Dana Flarfo. But so I don't know how much time we have left, David, but
we have a lot.
I want to get into these two's collaboration.
Yes.
Why don't we just take one at a time? I do think the Colin roasting run and the conceit of that, we could start with that if you want, was so jaw-dropping to me. Like, why didn't anyone else think of that? The conceit of what he says, and then it's a news report. To me, that's just inspired. Like, when did that moment hit somebody, whoever wrote that idea, or have you done it at some other theater? But it's such a great.
I hadn't gotten anything onto the show. It was like my first season, and Colin was like trying to help me out, and he was like, "Let's get you on Update. Like, that'll be fun." And I was like, "Okay." And I had tried other things that like didn't work, and then I was like, I guess I could just be mean to him, even though it was his idea to be nice and let me on Update.
Mean to him is funny because you're such a cute face. And the one I did backstage, what is that? Did it start with that one and then you were on Update, or were you always on first? I just saw the out of order.
I had done 2 pieces at the desk, and it was actually James Austin Johnson was like, he told me that other people previously, like years ago, had done Update pieces like remote. And so I initially wanted to go into like a bathroom and go to a toilet that was filled with piss and be like, Colin, is this your piss? It's really dehydrated. And everyone was like, oh, okay, haha, maybe not that.
I did one with Christopher Walken where they let me go to 9th Street. I don't know if you're still there, Dana. I went to 9th Street and in the snowstorm, and I had him cover the desk for me. And then he throws to me live. And every time he throws to me, I can't hear it. And so I'm just singing. I'm like, I love it when you call me Big Papa. And he's like, David, what's the weather like? And I go, isn't this clown supposed to throw to me? And then all you can do is hear me talking like they do off camera and ask for gum. And he's just staring at me and he goes, I don't think he can hear me. I don't know how to do this. What am I doing wrong? And then we keep going back and forth. But that was kind of hard to put together because I was out of the studio. So are you saying you don't do anything out of the studio anymore? Or you were in studio in a dressing room, right?
Yeah, we were
a real
just
dressing room or a set?
A set. We wanted it kind of close because we didn't want
Yeah.
it to look like a pre-tape.
Mhm.
Wanted it to that you could definitely tell that it was. I moved from the studio and I walk outside to a fake dressing room set, so it was like,
Tricked me.
Mhm.
Look
So
at that
Colin
movie
Joe,
magic.
that the joke is on him. It's supposedly his dressing room. And then what do you find in there? Just for our listeners.
Well, I find like an intern in a cage and like
Intern in a
motivational,
cage.
like post-its on his mirror that say like you're going to be the next Marvel superhero. And then I'm supposed to hold up a bikini babe picture of me. It was like a bodybuilder body with a bikini with my head photoshopped on it. And the joke is supposed to be like, "Oh my God, Colin, why do you have all these pictures of me in your dressing room?" And I go to hold up the picture, but during the live show, I like accidentally like threw it.
Yes.
And so like I went to hold up a big punchline, and it was
And then you kept going, but it didn't look like it was bad because I think I saw that one. It was still funny.
yeah. Everybody afterwards was like, "Well, that's the magic of live TV. Anything could happen." I was like, "Well, it would have been funny if I got to my fucking punchline for the joke that we wrote."
Well,
Was that your
They love
closer?
it when it's there's a mistake and you covered it beautifully. I mean, then it's like so extra alive. You know, that's the great thing about SNL. The mistakes stay in.
Totally.
So,
And Colin was laughing
Mhm.
too because he saw exactly what happened in the moment and knew that you were just going to be
Yeah.
staring at cue cards like, oh, I have 3 more lines about this thing and it's not going to happen.
you could tell he was really laughing.
Yeah, he was really laughing.
He's so good at laughing. It's awesome.
Well,
it's real,
I don't.
yeah.
He has a likable. He has a face that looks young. I don't know. There's something about his persona that's so gentle and likable and sort of conservative in a way. A brilliant writer, of course, but roasting him, I don't know. There's a magic to it. Like he just goes, "Hey, it's like the 1960s or something. Hey, stop that!" And you're accusing him of all kinds of horrible things, basically.
The only reason the bit works is because I'm like, "You're a pedophile," and he's laughing and laughing, so it looks fine.
And also coming from you, all these horrible things is always funny because you don't see anything coming. Like the second you say something, there's a headline about it. That's a very funny. Obviously, Dana was talking. We were talking about that before we got on. Oh, we also watched Meatballs. Oh, you're looking at Bulla?
That's how we started working together.
Yeah.
That demented. Well, now how does that come, Bulla? And you think of this one, of course.
I don't know. I would
too.
Sarah and I had not really worked together. She had asked me to write a live sketch with her, and we had a lot of fun. It didn't go. It had some like technical problems at dress, and it didn't.
I beefed it. I got too into my. You know when you have a lot of physical things going on in a sketch, that like, I don't know. I just like forgot to say my line because I was like, I have to throw a bunch of. In the sketch, I had to throw a bunch of birds at someone.
Yeah, it's
like you do.
Yeah,
live birds.
But, yeah, like everybody.
But like
live birds, real birds,
like stuffed seagulls, right?
Oh, I have one.
But Sarah had worked with yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Look,
a big seagull
showed us a
appeared.
seagull.
But Sarah had done like those updates with the Please Don't Destroy guys and with Celeste and and had been working a lot with them. They're hilarious. And then we worked on that together and had a good time. And then Meatballs started because I was reading that that children's book, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, to my daughter. And it had this like the famous story about the girl with a green ribbon about her neck, around her neck, and they take it off and her head falls off or whatever. And I was thinking about like doing something with that, but that it would be fun if instead of her head falling off, it's like something totally different. And then just kind of went.
There's a meatball for the audience at home. There's a meatball living on her neck that talks with a face. And she's on a date. Actually, the funniest thing to me, Sarah, in that whole sketch is how normal you're trying to act on the date.
Do you know how hard that was for you, by the way?
Yes, that's why it's funny to me. You're like, wow, this has been such a nice date with a gentleman caller. I'm like, who is this person? And then he's flirting with you, and then he asks you to immediately. He goes, "What's that green ribbon?" And then you hear music come up, like eerie music, and you're like, "Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't notice." and then you pull it off, and there's a meatball, and you're like, I hope this doesn't ruin anything with us. And he's like, no, well, yeah, it's weird. And then you have like 11 meatballs on your body.
And it's played out so nicely because I watched it twice because I really was sort of fascinated by it. And of course, you and Chris played it so real, which was great. And then the escalation, by the time you get to the piano under the armpit, like it was paced so beautifully, like, okay, they've got one meatball. And then the catchiness of all the singing over each other, you know, and you had the throw up person. I don't know. We're giving the whole sketch away, but it doesn't matter. And then how do you finish it? And then you have the twist with the kiss. Don't want to give it away. So it's kind of what I call sort of a perfect sketch.
Yeah.
Just landed perfectly right on air. I mean, with the pre-tapes and.
I'm really ticklish. So when they were gluing the meatball into my armpit, it was like Guantanamo torture.
I know how to not be tickled. My doctor just told me last week, just a regular physical. If someone's tickling you under the arm, put your hand on their hand, and that stops the tickling. It's the fear on the.
Because you're like doing it to yourself
somehow, and he was tickling me, and then I put my hand on his hand, and it didn't tickle anymore. We try to educate.
Was your doctor tickling you?
Well, it was a double appointment. It was from 10 to noon. We got bored.
You go, it was a tickle fight. We were both doing it.
Well, because he's doing the thing, cough, cough. He's grabbing my back, breathe, this and that, reaching for lymph nodes. I'm like, ha, 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 ha. And he goes, that's what happened. It wasn't illicit, no matter how much you wanted it to be, David.
My doctor laughs and he goes, oh my God, you have cancer. I mean, you have cancer. It's worse when it's better when he's laughing. It sounds
That's
funny.
hysterical.
No. So you did that, which I knew. I was guessing Bulla was involved in that.
Well, Bulla wrote that was all Bulla. Like we had not really worked together much, and he called me and he was like, I have this good sketch idea. And I was like,
I don't think I said a good sketch idea.
Yeah.
I think I was nervous about it.
No, you said great. You said, if you say you don't say no now, I'm picking up the phone and calling Chloe right now. Just yes or no. You got 2 seconds.
Once
like,
you
I'm
saw,
in. I don't know what it is. I'm in.
It kind of, once you saw people in the meatball prosthetic or whatever, or how they're keyed in, you must have started going, okay, that's really fucking funny. Yeah.
It felt good. Like I remember at the table read, it was so, it's so musical and it had all these overlapping things. And I was nervous about like, whenever you do music stuff at the table, it's always, you have a host who has to learn 40 things. Mm-hmm. And then you're trying to teach them a song and hoping you're going to remember, you do it.
Oscar Isaac?
Yeah, for Oscar Isaac.
What is Oscar Isaac in? Why don't I know that?
He's in
Star Wars.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to lean all the way into the camera with
She creates her own close-up. That's brilliant. Listen.
Is that how you got your meatball with you?
Oh, that's one of those. How did that song build? Did you write that overlapping on a keyboard and ding, or was
So I did like a full demo of it that night on like Tuesday night, probably at like 3:00 in the morning, where I did all these parts, and then taught the cast how to do it.
Jesus, and, for read through, you had to try to tell them.
Yeah, they kind of nailed it at read through. Which was.
Do you go over to the piano? Is there still a piano in read through room?
Eli was playing piano. Yeah, I didn't.
You're like, Eli, please, I just have so much going on right now. Can you just cover this part?
No,
I have to deal with the cast. Deal.
Yeah, but the music all synced up. But yeah, when we saw the prosthetics, it was awesome.
Who sang at the last? Who was the last woman to sing in the armpit?
Meatballs?
Yeah,
Charlie XCX.
Charlie XCX. Yeah, she was the musical guest.
The musical guest. You got her face
singing beautifully.
Shit, I love it.
Check it out on YouTube.
You have to go to the publicist. Hey. Does she want to stick her face in a giant meatball? I mean, just run it by her at least. And the publicist's like, I think she's just so overwhelmed this week. It's probably not the week. Any other week, she would do it.
You're going to be in the armpit on this one?
It's a good spot.
What? This is the mic drop of that sketch.
It's a closer. Yeah. Oh, also, what about the babies in the crib, Dana? Did you see that?
I don't know if I got that far.
It's a one when I was on the road with these.
Okay, let's break that down.
So it's basically, was Selena Gomez the first time?
Yeah.
So Selena was a host who's great. And then she's got a baby monitor, but she's trying to have I love me explaining it. she's having a couple people over while she's babysitting, right?
Huh?
Sarah, you just
Yeah,
tell it.
no, keep it. Well, are you off book? Do you remember every
Yeah, I
line?
am. And then she goes,
He's
and
off
she has the
book today.
monitor out there, and you hear, "Meow," and she goes, oh, and then they look at it, and it's a really funny visual of two babies in a crib with like not a black light, but you know how that, like a night vision with the white eyes of two little bald babies in a crib, and they're kind of rolling around, and she goes, they're fine, and then they keep getting noisier, and every time you cut, I don't realize it's a whole nother set, and they're live. It's Sarah. And who else is
And
it? Bowen?
Bowen.
Yeah, dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fucking funny though.
Bulla had a baby. Congratulations. And Mazel.
Sure, sure.
And he
Nice.
showed me that he could, like, on his phone, like, he has like a baby monitor app
Mhm.
or whatever on his phone. You
Yeah.
can see the little kid like rolling
Like
around.
a Ring app, yeah.
Yeah. And so then I was like, okay, that's a sketch. And it was fun because able to like play with scale really crazy. So to like make me and Bowen look like two little bald babies, we had to build a giant crib with giant teddy bears to make us look tiny.
Yeah, that's
That was
really
fun.
funny. Yeah, because I didn't get that. I thought it was a pre-tape, and then you went on the road. You said, "Oh yeah, no, we're in the other sketch," and no wonder everyone's laughing so hard because you're over there acting ridiculous, and then you're rolling around, and they go, "Oh, they're doing this now," and then you're like doing somersaults and jumping, now doing stuff that babies can't really do, and hilarious.
Well, we had two sets. So there was like the set that
Oh, it's a whole other set?
yeah. So Selena was
Yeah.
on like one set, which is like a living room, and then on home base we had this giant crib that was like scaled to make them look proper baby size. But as you're cutting back and forth, like Sarah and Bowen would run out of the crib and like break dance, or like acrobats would like come in and do like flips and then run out, and Sarah and Bowen would go back in. So it was like when the camera was off, or Sarah would run out and a full size Sarah dummy would go in, and Bowen would be
Oh, it's swinging around. Yeah. I think it was Selena saying, hey, we can have some beers. It's all good. And they go, I think you should go check on these kids. And they'd be doing something so ridiculous. She goes, no, they're fine. And then there was like another kid in there.
Yeah, Post Malone.
And they're like, they're like, hey, there's someone else. There's another baby in there. She's like, oh, there shouldn't be. But no real reactions. And then Post Malone, gaga. Or whatever.
We did another installment of it, I guess, this year where it was like the two babies on a sonogram.
Mhm.
And so we have like Cecily as the gyno with the little like whatever sonogram wand. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So
and then it
it's
would
fun.
cut to me and Bowen like inside the womb.
What was that set?
It was like a whole that entire thing was like a full green screen circle, and the floor was green and everything. So we were able to make it look like an ultrasound. And then same thing, they would like bringing in props where they're on pogo sticks and stuff. They ran out, and we had break dancers come in, and it's always nuts.
Yeah, I do like that because you don't know what's every time you cut to. There's gonna better be another cut to.
So,
joke.
do you guys? I mean, this is what Lauren Michaels would probably call it's fresh.
Yeah.
There's been elements of this sort of style of comedy you guys are doing, but you're accelerating it. It seems very fresh. It's new. It's what their kids love. So, are you? It feels really fun to write for this kind of comedy, visual with giant effects and props. Are you think you guys are more focused on that? Because I have a couple ideas for the rest of the season. Well, I just like incredible shrinking stuff. Like, what if Lauren, you accidentally, for real, shrink Lauren? He's like 6 inches tall, but he still has this Lauren genius brain. It doesn't matter that I'm tiny. I still can run the show. He's always getting stepped on by cast members. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Ant-Man.
Well, I love visual comedy where if the sound broke, you would still love the bit. I love that. You know?
Ant producer. I saw Molly. I saw a lot of Molly last week.
Was she difficult to work with, Molly Shannon?
She's so difficult.
Truly one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Yes, human niceness 10.0 and physical form.
I was bummed, Dana, that she wasn't at the Mark Twain, Adam Sandler Fawn Fest because she is so great and she's such a great speaker. And what are you pointing at, Sarah?
You didn't miss me?
Well, I think in that context, I did miss you because I always do. But I think Molly is so good at speaking, better than most of us, that she's so lovely about it and selfless. And then there's selfish, me. So it's good balance. So, but she was at the spillover party that was 2 weeks before that we talked about once.
But by the way, Sarah, just so you know, sorry, David.
Yeah.
I like to interrupt. David has been talking about you on and off for months and singing your praises.
See, Sarah, see? Even though you think when you do this whole interview, it's over, you're going to walk out and light up your cig and go, he said I bombed on the Sandler tour. That's all I heard. And I didn't say that. I said, you're too smart for half of them because they have to get into your comedy. And then once they did, then they're really all the way in. But when you're doing different stuff, it's not served on a platter. You have to think of it a little bit. So I was watching from the side, and you're bombing with me too, but that's because I'm not smart. I don't get it. So, but later,
it's
I know
only
in a
10
year,
minutes,
like,
right?
oh,
And then Adam does 3 hours, and guys in the back waiting or something.
I know.
He destroys.
He walks on stage and flicks a cigarette at me and goes, Spade, keep it to 6 tonight. I'm like, 6 minutes?
Everybody.
I'm a superstar,
I got
sir.
my pocket knife and my wallet.
I think Dan was in on that one. No, but Dana, we do the show. Sarah, my real question is, how did you handle the midnight dinner after the show? I don't know how Dan does.
What midnight dinner after the show?
After we do, usually on the road. Yeah.
Oh, with the Adam Sandler gig. Yeah, you guys go out to dinner, right?
The only times I've been on the road, there's just like vats of barbecue backstage that everyone like horks down and then goes to sleep.
No, that was, I think.
Bulla taught me about horking. That's
horking's when you spit, isn't it? You hork up a loogie?
No, I think that's
hot.
Hock up a loogie. No, I think I wrote in a sketch once, somebody's horking down something like a farm animal, and Sarah was like, "What is that?"
He said horking down asparagus like a farm animal.
Oh, I like that.
From our sketch that never saw the light of day.
That's a read-through trick, or Schneider would go, Trek. Because if someone laughs at the description, he goes, Trek. Nope, that's not a real laugh. Don't count.
No, it doesn't laugh. Trek laugh. Have you guys ever shocked each other where like you pitch something to the other one goes, whoa, slow down, man. Come on, that's too far.
I don't think so.
Or there are no limits. It's whether you can get it on the show, right?
Has there been anything I've pitched to you that you're like, no way?
I don't think so. In terms of, I don't think she's ever pitched something that it like makes me feel like, oh no, I would never do that. I think we do really think, we are trying to write for the show always. Like it's not
maybe you think it's not comedically might not work. Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Or it might not be like the host doesn't have a big enough part, or not sure if it's producible in a week or things like that. But
you know what? I stuff will happen. Well, I'll just say something that I think I'm just pitching it to like get energy going, and I won't even think anything of it. Like with the eyes replaced, like I'm like, what if it's a sketch where I got my eyes replaced with googly eyes? And I was just saying it thinking it wasn't possible. But then Bulla starts like all of a sudden like he'll just start riffing, and a whole sketch will get created. But it's like I kind of said it like I was kidding, but you were like, oh, that's a legitimate sketch.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to tell what idea is going to kind of.
Well, do you go to makeup and say, if makeup can do it, we should try to do it. If not, let's not waste our time, right?
Well, Louis in makeup will make anything happen.
It seems they'll do anything.
Yeah, that's true. They never want to turn down anything. They want to really try it because they get bored too.
Totally, and he is unbelievable. Talk about like a superstar. He's never once told us it's not possible. He'll push it further every time. It's awesome.
And could we get his full name? Sorry, I don't think I've met him. Louis
Zakarian. He's the makeup effects guy, and he's so awesome.
Yeah.
For the roller coaster, we did a sketch like that. I get stuck on a roller coaster for 100 hours, and so my face is like blown out, like my hair is blown backwards, and my mouth is blown permanently open. Right. And so, like on a Monday, I was like, I said to Louis, I put that like dentist, what do you call, like a mouth speculum? I don't
Yeah,
know
it
what it's called.
opens your mouth up.
Sander or something.
Yeah. So I said to Louis, I'm like, is it possible to build a prosthetic that blows my mouth open? But like the speculum you use at the dentist has this like plastic bar that goes under your chin. So like, as a I asked him, I'm like, is there a prosthetic you could build that doesn't have these extra plastic bits so it can look like it's like part of my face?
Right.
And so we like pitched it to him like on a Monday, and he's like, oh, like he's just like, we wrote a sketch around him being able to build a mouth prosthetic that work. You know what I mean?
And is he at read through?
Yeah.
Are those guys at read through?
Yeah.
Aren't all the departments?
Mhm.
So it sounds, I don't know, just maybe as a jealous ex-cast, I love the world you're working in. It just seems really fun. Not easy, but really fun. These big visual elements and having the subversive dialogue or whatever you're doing with it to get it not just a visual joke. I love it. I want to host now or guest spot so I can be in something with Sarah and Dan will write it with us. Couldn't I just come out for one sketch anytime in the next 5 years? I still look pretty good. I mean, come on.
Oh my god.
Please,
I
that'd be
still look pretty good.
awesome.
Dana looks really good.
But it sounds like so much fun. And I had a connection with Bonnie and Terry Turner and also with Robert Smigel in specific and others, Al Franken politically and Jim Downey. So it's very nice. It's a kind of communication, a friendship you guys must have of having this similar sense of humor and sensibility. It's kind of magic, isn't it, when you find someone like that? I'm sure there's others you're connecting with on the show, but Smigel and I I'd come in and start doing Regis and he would immediately start picking it up and we just start going. So with you guys, was there a moment kind of like, holy shit, light bulb moment. We're going to be friends. We're going to write a lot together, or just sort of happened?
When Bulla, when Bulla called me and was like, "Oh, I have this Meatballs idea," I was like, "Oh my god, I feel seen," because the show is scary because it's a live show in front of millions of people. Of course, it's scary, and I went from doing like crazy like performance art comedy to like doing network television comedy, and like it was a scary kind of transition for me a little bit, and so like the second like Bulla was like, what about this crazy thing? I was like, oh my God. Whatever. I'm like not explaining that well.
Thinking out of the box. Yeah, for sure. It's different.
Well, writing is really hard. Writing takes so much intellectual, emotional energy. It's exhausting. So we've all experienced a great writer handing us something you now have with Dan. And it's like, okay, that's awesome.
Are the other writers jealous though, Dana, do you think that they're like, can I borrow him?
Well, Dan, do you like to be on camera? Have you done performing yourself?
I mean, I used to always, like when I came up, I was in Chicago doing sketch comedy and improv and did all that. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, was still doing that. Now I don't really, I mean, I'll perform with Sandler on the road and be on stage with him and do all that. And he always puts me in movies and stuff, and I love it. I like that, but really, I don't. It's not like I'm sitting here with aspirations to be a cast member at SNL or anything.
Were you kind of successful just right out of high school or something? Have you just had kind of a lot of success throughout your career?
I mean, when I out of college, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was working as a sports writer in Chicago, and my friend John Greenberg, who got me jobs working for the Associated Press and covering the Chicago Bulls and all, the professional teams there. He was like, it's like, I'm going to take a writing class at Second City. Do you want to do it? And I was like, sure. And then really fell in love with doing that. And, yeah, I don't know, but I was like in LA with nothing going on when Sandler like,
did you grow up middle class or what was your home life like?
Grew up outside Chicago.
Where did Sandler find you, though?
He had just signed his first Netflix deal, and was looking for movie ideas. So I had like a meeting set up with him to pitch something, and then he was also looking for music for a benefit he was doing or something. And I sent him a demo for a song. And he really liked it, and we met up and really hit it off, and then just kept talking, and I kept sending him songs, and we just
I heard you wrote this song called "Oh Yes," where it goes like this: "Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes,"
I don't remember that one.
and that was it. And you go, "Do I need to keep going?"
Well, it must be
And he
fun
goes-
writing with Sandler and music with Sandler
Yeah.
because he loves it so much and is
Well,
so great at it.
He's the best to work with, and he truly like. I mean, I was living in a crappy apartment with my wife in LA and wasn't working professionally in comedy at all, and totally scooped me up and saved my ass. I still talk to him. I mean, I talked to him for half an hour this morning on the phone. He's the greatest. I owe him everything.
You saw it to Mark Twain. We all gave our props. He's just such a unique guy, you know, and to know him is to love him. Anyway, so Dan, now that you've gotten
Dana,
rich,
Dan has a good disposition and a good temperament. So I think it's good when you're a performer, you're a little crazed. I know I am. Sarah's a little bit. Adam,
I hide so much neuroses from the world. This was just survival instincts from my childhood to be this guy. Yeah,
he's a calming presence. So I think he takes it in like a machine and takes in the ideas and sort of puts them back. But Adam, I think, from what I see, will want to write after the show, write on the plane, write at breakfast, right? Like anytime, he never stops.
Yeah.
And he's just always driven. So you got to be ready. I see Dan beat up on the road because he's going to sound checks. Then, you're traveling in style, but you're still traveling. It's different time zone. It's freezing. I think we were in Greensville, was it South Carolina? That's when I started feeling crappy. And then that might have been the spare ribs hork night, I think. Because we usually go straight to dinner from the show, and it's a 3-hour show, and then you go straight to a dinner, and I see Dan over in the corner slumping, going, "Fuck, we got to get up and fly to another city and just start over." And I get to sleep a little more. Everyone gets a little more of a breather, but they beat him up. Still performing, and you got to perform for 2 hours out there.
Could you be a road monster, Sarah? Yeah, I was just going to ask you about.
Oh, what?
Would you be a road monster if the people, the 10%ers, go, Sarah? We can book you every night for the next 6 months. Do you want to do it? I mean, or would you temper that a little bit, or would you like it?
I will go anywhere, everywhere, all the time.
Perfect.
You're on tour right now, right?
Yeah. On the hiatuses, I do a lot of shows too. But I wanted to sing Dan's praises for a second, one more time.
Yeah.
Please do.
Okay, so we were just talking about because you're talking about Dan's temperament and good attitude or whatever. And so we're doing all these crazy sketches where it's like crazy production, and like the sketch where I have googly eyes for eyes, they had to so I'm fully blind because there's googly eyes over my eyes.
Yeah.
And in order to give me any vision at all, Louis, the effects artist, drilled little holes in the googly eyes, but my eyelashes would get caught in them and my eyelids would get caught in them. So they basically had to tape open my eyes underneath the prosthetics, like Clockwork Orange style. And I'm getting literally put into this jigsaw torture goggle helmet before going on live television, totally wigging out, so scared. And I'm in the makeup chair, just spiraling. And then I'll feel Bulla right behind me. He'll sneak up behind me and go "You got it, buddy. You're a rock star. You got it." He's really good at that. It's or the roller coaster sketch where they taped over my mouth. They had to spray my mouth and teeth with water so that my throat wouldn't dry out during the sketch. And Bulla just comes up behind me in the makeup chair and he's "You got it, buddy. You're a rock star."
It's over in 10 minutes.
I like that. Can I just say 3 minutes ago, I thought you were referring to me, David, when you said Dan's temperament. So I responded to it. Thinking you were mentioning
you do have a good temperament.
But I do think Dan has a very relaxing, nice presence.
Well, I mean, Sarah also sees how I am fully crazy intense too. We are rewriting things a million times. I'm never willing to accept it when it's 90% of the way there. So I'm not the easiest person to work with. But Sarah's worked with, I mean, everybody here loves working with Sarah. She worked with the Please Don't Destroy guys a ton.
They do?
Here. They've had some big hits, like the Six Flags thing was awesome.
Oh.
and like
Those guys are really funny.
So she's and Celeste, like we talked about, and I mean across the board, people love working with Sarah. I've worked with, when I started out, I was working with Stephen Castillo, another writer here, and then I worked a lot with Pete. But I think when Sarah and I really started, when we started sharing an office and working really closely together, it's like Lauren always says, like you find your people here eventually at the show. And I know that was true for you guys. And there's comfort in knowing like, okay, we're going to come up with something. We know how to talk to each other. We know how we have a shorthand together. And that's really helpful. Helps you get through week after week.
And you both are tough, tenacious. I mean, if Sarah has to overcome her stage fright and land it and not have it affect the performance, I don't see that at all. But the fact that you can control those nerves, and then Dan is a tenacious writer. That's what you need, all that tenacity and toughness. But it's very sweet. That's what I'll take away from this podcast. He comes up behind you and says, "You're a rock star."
Yeah.
For a performer,
Buddy,
that's great.
You got this. You're a rock star.
Baby, it's always the same thing, right? Baby, you got you got
It
this?
was with me at dinner. He goes, "You can hork this." He whispered behind me. It looks like 30 ribs, but you can do this.
John Lovitz would do the opposite, though. Before I'd go out really nervous on the sound stage, he goes, "You're going to destroy. You're going to kill." I go, "John, don't. It's a jinx for comedians.
Yeah,
Don't
he's
ever,
trying to jinx you.
Don't
That's
ever
different.
say you're going to, you'll destroy them."
Dana, I have another question for, I know they got a big day. We'll let
Pick
you go,
one. It's
Sarah,
either
but
Dan or Sarah. You know
this
me
one's
well.
for Sarah.
Okay.
It said she was a screenwriter on Jackass Forever. That's so interesting. How crazy. Where did they find you for that?
Because I used to, I wrote with Eric Andre a lot for like the Eric Andre show, and Eric knew that I was like a huge Jackass fan, and so when they were like looking for writers to just like pitch ideas for the movie, Eric, it was like a make-a-wish. He was like, "Come on, let's get Sarah in there, like make her day. She gets to meet Johnny Knoxville."
How fun. And you're like,
Yeah.
they go, "And what do my balls do in this sketch?" And you're like, well,
I showed up to the writer. I literally only worked there for like 6 hours. I was so excited that I showed up to the like pitch day with like drawings and diagrams of like crazy stunts, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool."
no, that is cool. That's very thought out. I love it. I would love
we
that.
had Johnny on this podcast. Remember what happened to him? It was like he had a number 2 pencil up his thing for 2 years.
Johnny, yeah, he did this, yeah.
And he's saying it with a smile, and he's totally relaxed. I'm like, what?
He's like, "I have to pee out of my mouth now." We're like, "Why? What happened?" He's like, "Oh, it's such a long story."
That's all. Yeah, I put my head in a meat grinder, but it was a really funny sketch, and we kept it in. Anyway, I hope they're safe. That thing, boy. You ran track in high school, Sarah? Because I did too. Did you really run track?
Yeah.
And what was your event? The mile? Whoa. Were you a champion?
I was like pretty good. I like, it was like a little over, I think it was like 5:30 mile or something like that.
That's good. That's very good. Yeah.
But I think being I don't know if you feel this way, but like being a high school athlete, I think somehow I got like ruthlessly competitive or something from that. I think that's like helped here.
Yeah, I'm always psychotically competitive. Dennis Miller and I would talk about it because he would sometimes, Carvey, I had Schadenfreude for you, okay? Which is a German word for taking joy in your friends' failures. And I go, "Dennis, I have it for everybody." I mean, it's like the rubber hammer on your knee. It's a reflex. The little kid inside you reflex of you don't actively sabotage your peers, but you want to beat them. And that's just the way the human brain works. But yeah, I mean, when you got into comedy, did you feel like, okay, now I'm a sub 5 minute miler? I mean, like I'm now where I really belong. You know, that feeling like maybe I'm going to do this anyway.
I had like, I always wanted to be a comedian, like since I was like a little kid. And like, it was like one of those things where it was so dramatic. I like quit the track team to like go be a tree in the school play. Like, you
Nice.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I think I just I happened to be good at running, but I was like, I don't care if that'll help pay for college. I want to go have 0 lines in the chorus of the musical.
Your parents are like, running's gonna pay for your college.
Oh, your daughter's on Saturday Night Live. That's great. She was a really good runner. I don't know why she gave it up.
Do you
Their
think you could
parents
beat
like
Lauren in
that.
a race in like not a mile, but like a 100-yard dash?
Honestly, no. He could beat me at anything.
I was the mile and the 2 mile, and whoops, the 3 mile.
Oh, Dana, I heard Dana. Everyone keeps asking me to tell you or to ask you that you won something running.
I was okay, but there were better guys in front of me. And once I figured out I can't beat those guys, we had a 4:10 miler on our team, you know,
Oh God.
and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I see what that is. So I
Yeah,
was
what an asshole.
running 4:27. Whoops, how'd that come out? But I was like in 8th place.
Wow.
I was in 10th place, you know, because that was the running boom back then. But there's one thing
That's like being at SNL, like you're the great runner, and you're like the 10th funniest guy.
But I just want to do these quickly because we have just a few more minutes, and you guys have to get. I wish I had a better pitch than your head goes giant or something. I got one. You know, they say you're going to have a date with a guy. You're going to be for a date. Yeah, he's really nice. He's this, he's that, but he can't keep it in his pants. Oh, really? What do you mean? So he comes in for the date and he literally can't get out of his pants. And then you introduce a product called a hooter clamp, which it goes around. It's like a chastity belt for guys who cannot keep it in their pants. Okay.
Tries to
I'm
make a
getting
break
this
out of the
fucking
leg.
incredible team smiling. This
I
is so
know.
flattering. He can't keep it in his pants. And Dan, there's a song there. He's a
go.
nice
Yeah, that the
guy.
song
He
comes
makes
in
a
and
lot
it's
of
like-
money, but he can't keep it in his pants. That brings in the hooter clamp. Anyway, just a thought. That's yours. Run with it. Do you go? Before we go, do you do a Lauren impression? Everyone seems to have either one word or one thing, and Lauren loves it. We love him. Right.
I don't, and I wouldn't dare.
You're allowed, Sarah.
Well, ours is not derogatory. It's mostly about his giant brain.
I guess mine is for the listeners at home, they're gonna be disappointed. But it's this. If you guys want to describe
Why?
it, it's when he looks at me like this.
Why would he look at you like
pierced
that?
lips, chin down, eyes up, sort of a knowing glance.
That looks more flirty.
I do. One of my Laurens is the motorboat Lauren. When Lauren is making a really good point and you accidentally interrupt him, it's that thing of like, you know, when people, well, yeah. And he goes, no. And it's like an outdoor motor. No. You know, there's something.
We'll take that.
Well,
You have too many pitches.
People turn into motorboats. Like Obama would be like an outboard motorboat. Oh, no. Oh, no. Michelle, I'm starting it. Oh, no. So it's like people turn into human outboard motorboats. Sorry. I'll be out there next
Lauren
year.
story I can think of right now to tell that I think was funny is I was during dress rehearsal. You're under the bleachers sitting as a writer. If you wrote the sketch, you're under the bleachers sitting next to Lauren while he's watching it, and he gives notes and gives thoughts
On a
and
big
stuff.
television. Yeah.
And I had a sketch once that absolutely bombed in like I'm sitting there sweating bullets. It was when I was really new, and gets absolutely 0, absolute death. And at the end, I'm just dying to get out of there. He's not saying anything the whole time. And at the end, he just turns to me and he says, they'd be drinking white wine, not red. Because it was like it was like a brunch. And I'm like, this is a sketch that has he can't, that's the only thing he can think of to say other than like, well, this has 0.
You're like, I don't think we need to worry about what the wine is as we're cutting.
Oh, you know, it's 50 years almost, and it's an amazing personality to hold the show the same. Like David and I talking, you guys, obviously, we know what it smells like there. We know the elevators. We know walking into 8H on a Thursday. We're like, the show's Saturday. You know, it's like, it's really fun to talk to people currently doing what we did. We've had a lot of alumni, but you are currently in there. So we'd like to bring you back in another month and just call it Pitch Hour. And we just try to get, David and I just try to get stuff on the show through you. And we don't even need a credit. But
Bulla, look, I call you Bulla. I think I call you the wrong name this whole time.
That's all right.
care.
Everybody in the Sandler world calls me Bulla. Everybody here calls me Bulla.
Look at this. Who's that?
Ah, cute.
Can you see that?
Who was that? David Spade?
Man Brooks.
That's Adam's first album. I got a picture on the wall.
Okay, favorite. Where we go? Favorite movie all time? Just blink, or a movie that you'll watch again and again.
It's not my favorite movie of all time.
Okay, but you'll watch it.
But I was telling Bulla this. For some reason, I've seen Scorsese's Cape Fear 1 million times.
Okay.
And I rewatch it over and over again because for some reason it comforts me, even though it's one of the most deranged and disturbed.
Brilliant film. Brilliant. Dan?
That's so great.
I couch it because best is I go like a movie you will see as an ulterior way to think of it. Alternative.
Yeah.
This might be my favorite movie.
Body Double. Is that Melanie Griffith?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it
How
Coppola
about
or
Body
something?
Heat? Anybody? Body Heat? Pretty good, right?
Yes,
Nick
Body
Nolte.
Heat is good. I remember when I was little, I wanted to watch the movie Heat, and my mom brought home Body Heat from Blockbuster.
Oh, no.
And you whack
You went from there. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Sarah, you do have a
We're
good
gonna do
voice,
it.
I have to
Sorry.
say. Good voice.
I have a grating, awful voice that
No, it's very interesting.
much of the SNL. I think. Well, my problem at work that I'm working on is that I scream too loud.
As you
When I'm on
quietly
stage.
say that, you go, I scream to you. Just catch
I kind
yourself
of was
finally.
noticing how nicely articulate and your volume was up because it's a rock and roll. It's not jazz. A lot of times SNL, there's ambient noise unless you're in the cold opening, which is eerie by yourself, 5 seconds, and then everything's quiet. But throughout the show, there's movement and noise. So you kind of have to project in more ways than one. Dan?
But I that the learning curve is that because from stand up, you think you have to,
Yeah.
I'm performing in like a back of a bar in a barbecue restaurant over a football game. So if
Been
I'm
there.
in a room performing, I have to scream.
Yes, been there in the cowboy bars, the honky tonk. Show us your dick, and then a beer comes by your head. Those are terrific nights. I enjoyed meeting you both so much, and Dan. Now I know I have a comprehensive view of you.
Yeah.
So I hope I wasn't a dick at the Mark Twain
No,
thing.
not at all.
Hey, give me a D chord, bitch.
It's on me. No, we had a great
Dan was
time.
dodging people to ask him to help with there's 80 comics who have to speak, and he's like, Dan, who didn't ask you? Me.
You did not ask me.
I didn't ask for help from Dan, even though we were all shitting. But I want to do this.
I actually said to David, I'm like, you're one of the only people here who didn't ask me. And he said, yeah, I went to Jim Downey.
Shit.
Did I go to Downey? No, you know what? Downey, Dennis Miller gave me a joke that got cut. I did the shortest, Dana, and I got 4 jokes cut. How embarrassing.
Wasn't I the shortest?
Oh.
They cut out my Trump and my Dennis, right?
Oh, yeah, you had Dennis in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dennis Miller.
Well, everyone got hacked. They cut 90 minutes out of that.
I
thing.
don't care. I'm glad Sandman was happy.
He was happy. He's laughing. I mean, you can't get any better than that. It's like after a while, it's embarrassing. Like every show is like, we're working on another thing about Adam, how great he is. We're like, got it. Oh, quickly, Sarah. Forget it. All right.
Wait, let me do my David Spade impression.
Oh, great. Okay, everybody quiet.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I have to take this. My Rolex is calling. Hello.
Are you applauding your own show? Thank you, Sarah. That was nice.
David has,
Sarah, we took a
great
selfie
pattern.
on the road too. Wasn't that fun? Sarah, you remember that?
Yeah, I said, come on, David, let me wear the big Rolex.
I'm going to get together with Dan, behind the scenes over the months and say to Adam, so yeah, I'll just open for you and then do an hour of just singing and dancing and
Yeah, do everything. No, there's no way Adam can follow
Sandman
anybody.
rules the day.
He crushes.
And I love the way he does his stand up. It just feels so relaxing. You know,
I
just
might see you on
fun.
another one, Dan. I'm trying to get out there again with you guys.
Do
I
it.
told him I'll get out there, but I'm
Sarah,
a shut-in.
nice to see you. I'll see you guys later.
Enjoyed it. Try to have fun today at that meeting. It's kind of nerve-wracking, I find, a little bit.
This has been a podcast presentation of Cadence 13. Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes. Available now for free wherever you get your podcast. No joke, folks.
Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13, executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment.
The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman with production and engineering support from Serena Regan and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.